Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Non Sequitur Nerds. Tonight, simple and clean is a way we hope you're feeling tonight, because we're going to be talking Kingdom Hearts and all the countless games in that series. Anyway, though, like always, I'm Tim, joined by Ian. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, buddy. Things are going pretty well. It's been kind of a whirlwind week, which is fairly normal for
Yeah,
most semi-functional and probably even not even functional adults. So,
ain't that the truth?
it just been one of them weeks. So I'm glad for the weekend. Finishing up some of my MBA classes this weekend before I switch over to the next ones.
Awesome.
So a little busy for me, but at the same time, I should have a little bit of time to breathe here
Good, good.
soon.
You
So
deserved it.
yeah.
Well, and I don't know about you, but like at least up in my area of the Midwest, I'm pretty sure this week we've had every season in a week. We've gone from like freezing and snow to tomorrow it's supposed to be like in the like mid to high 70s. We've had rain and everything in between. It's been a crazy week up here.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mother Nature had drunken sex on the weather remote. And it's just been, yeah, like
Yeah.
I think last weekend I woke up to snow
Yep.
one day
Yep.
and looked out my window and went, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
then, yeah, I mean, it was 76 here today.
I think we got up to high 60s, I think. And then like the temperature plummeted because we had a really bad storm front come through. So it went from 60 down to like 40. So I think it's
Yeah, it's supposed to hit the
50,
50s
sorry.
here. Yeah, it's supposed to hit like 50s here next week. So
Yeah.
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
Welcome to the weather in the Midwest.
Yay!
So, anyway, yeah, tonight we're talking Kingdom Hearts,
That we
a
are.
beloved series that has been first came out in 2002,
Yeah,
so
it's been a
20
while.
years. 20 years at this point. The series has been out there. Such a weird premise.
Like I remember when I think you and I have talked about this in the show before. I remember when that first came out. Like you picked it up before I did, and you were playing the crap out of it. I had no interest in it because I'm like, it's a Disney RPG. What the crap? And then I think I actually came down and visited you at college and saw you play it. Went, what is this? This is amazing. What is this? Like, is this that
Yeah,
that Disney thing? Like, yeah, it's Kingdom Hearts, dude. And I've picked it up and I've played almost every single game in the series, including all the various like side stories and spin-offs since then. And there's a
right.
lot of them, like I said. But no,
Yeah.
it's like the whole basic premise. I mean, most people I imagine are familiar with Kingdom Hearts at this point. But the whole basic premise is take Disney, throw it in the blender with some Final Fantasy, and give it a good, if not convoluted story. And then you got your Kingdom Hearts smoothie. I mean, that's the long and short of it. It is a Disney slash Square Enix RPG with an action RPG style, I should say. It's a very hack and slash. So
Yeah, yeah. The main characters, being the main three characters in all of the major games anyway, being Sora, a original character, and then Donald and Goofy as his companions. You only ever really play as the one main character.
yeah,
As Tim said, it's real time combat in an RPG type style. You know, you have stats and level up, and you get
yep,
abilities and things like that, but it's all real time. Um, my understanding, this kind of a urban legend type thing is, the development inception of this game happened was because Disney and Square Enix shared an office in Japan
really,
when they were over there, and I guess there was a couple of directors or employees or something like that in an elevator one time, and they were just kind of chatting, and it'd be kind of cool if what if we had like Donald Duck and Mickey and in Final Fantasy VII or something like that, and kind of exploded from there,
yeah,
obviously. But yeah, definitely became like this, you know, very eclectic yet really
yeah.
fun, weird series. I
Yeah,
mean,
like
it's
it's
so
definitely
hard to follow the story.
it is yeah, weird is like weird but in a good way. It is definitely even amongst other Square Enix games, it is a very unique kind of story and storytelling for that matter. Um
Yeah.
I mean, like the first game starts off simple enough. You know, you travel to
Simple and
different
clean.
is very exactly simple and clean. Which is an amazing, amazing song for this series, by the way. But it starts off simple enough. You know, you're Sora, just a kid growing up on an island with his two friends. Shit happens, and you end up traveling to various different Disney worlds. And like one of the
On a flying gummy bear.
yes, on a flying gummy Legos things.
Yes.
But
Yes.
one of the things that was really unique about it is for some of the Disney worlds, you're still, you know, Sora, Donald, and Goofy as normal. But in others, your characters take on an appearance to make them fit in more with the world. Like Nightmare Before Christmas is an example. When they go to that world,
Oh yes.
they don costumes and appearances that make them look like denizens of Halloween Town. When they go to,
I think Donald's a mummy, and
Yeah, and
Goofy is like a
like a
Frankenstein. I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
or later in the series when they go to the Toy Story world, they actually become toys. They are
Yeah.
action figures. So it's really unique.
Or the Monsters Inc. world where they
Yeah,
become monsters.
They become monsters. Yeah, it's just really unique to kind of, even though you're playing as the same characters, their appearance changes based on where you're at. Now, like some of the worlds, like I think like the Hercules world, they look the same. So there are some like that.
Yeah.
But ones where thematically it would fit, or in the case of Monsters Inc., Toy Story, or Nightmare Before Christmas, where it would be a huge benefit to them to appear as, you know, citizens of that world.
Right.
It makes sense. It never feels shoehorned in. It makes sense. Like the Toy Story world, they would have to be toys. Otherwise, that throws off the whole established Toy Story lore. It's like, well, if there's three real people that are our size, but they're real people, so we have to go into, you know, toy mode and flop down, but they're toy size, or they, you know, it pretty much fills in that unasked plot question. So they become toys
Right.
because it works.
Right. It was also an introduction to a very iconic weapon in the Keyblade.
Yes.
You know, the Keyblade became this kind of
iconic.
iconic overnight, you know, kind of sensation type thing in the gaming world. And it's central not only to Kingdom Hearts as a, you know, as just like part of the marketing, but part of the story.
Yeah, very
Like that's
much
the whole.
so, yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like the Keyblades are used, you know, to fight evil and unlock things. I mean, it's a key
They're
and it's a
literally
blade.
keys. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, I mean, the use of the term blade is, you know, is more like a large, heavy steel blunt object.
I mean, it's closer to a
with.
baseball bat with pointy bits on it.
Right. So it's the Kingdom Hearts version of the nail bat from Final Fantasy VII.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's pretty accurate. But no, it's the Keyblades, like the standard one at least, is an iconic weapon, easily recognizable by anybody, even with a passing familiarity of gaming. Like you could put that up next to like Cloud's Buster Sword, next to the Master Sword from the Zelda series, and most people be able to recognize. Okay, that's, apart from the fact that it looks like a giant key, that's a Keyblade. You know, that's Cloud's sword. That's the Master Sword. But there's even variations of the Keyblades that you unlock throughout the game. They have different powers, different weapons, and change their appearance. There are, and I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, there are other people who use Keyblades, and their Keyblades look unique. So it's not a one and done weapon. It's actually multiple weapons, not just to Sora, but to other characters as well. Like even Mickey. Mickey is a Keyblade wielder. He has his own unique Keyblade. So.
Yeah, and you know, the Keyblades again, being a Keyblade wielder, I feel like it kind of becomes a little bit diluted as the series goes, because it's like everybody, it's like an episode of Oprah. You get a Keyblade, and you get a Keyblade, and you get a Keyblade. You know, it's like so many people have a damn Keyblade, but at the same time, again, it's still kind of central to the story, because as Kingdom Hearts evolves, you know, you really are pulling in past, present, and future into this like kind of swirling nexus of a story, and it is admittedly very hard to follow.
Yes.
There are hundreds at this point probably of videos out on YouTube that provide like explanations of the story. If you're gonna jump into the series, your best bet is to, try to figure this out. It doesn't also help that they have some of the weirdest damn names for games ever.
I actually have a full list of all of them.
I do too.
Do you want me to run through
Go
them?
for it.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so in not release order, but chronological story order, you have Kingdom Hearts X / Unchained X / Union X / Union X Dark Road, which were web games that got ported to mobile, that got a name change globally, that got a continuation, hence the slashes. After that, you have Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix. And keep in mind when I say any of these games are Final Mix or anything like that, this is the complete version of that game with any changes that got made, any slight retcons, anything like that. After that, you have Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Point 2, A Fragmentary Passage, Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. I had to look up how to actually say that one. Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC, and kind of the odd one, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, which is more or less a retelling of the story up to that point from a different perspective. But
as a rhythm game.
If you ever played Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm, similar to that, I think it's the same team that did it. It's actually a lot of fun. Plus, this series has amazing music.
Right.
But there's quite a few. Now, I will say that there's a couple collections. There is the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 collection, the Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter collection, Kingdom Hearts 3 and Remind. The good thing with those is those collections typically will contain, obviously, the mainline one, so Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3. Most of the collections do contain one, if not two, sometimes, I think there might be 1 to 3, of the various side story games, but they also will contain cutscenes and retellings of some of the other side games they couldn't really port or remake. Some of the videos for those recaps are well over an hour long. So I mean, with those collections, you can get literally everything and all the story you need to know. But just even beside playing the actual playable games, you're going to be spending hours watching recaps if you go the official route. Like Ian said, there are a plethora of YouTube videos and things like that will give you here's a quick recap of everything you need to know. But if you're one of those people that needs to know everything, go for the complete collections, play them in chronological order, watch all those cutscene recaps, play all the games, the whole 9 yards. And again, we've both alluded to this, it is a very convoluted story with things connecting to other things that connect to other things, and it just goes on and on. But it's good. It's good. It's the big thing.
Right. And you had mentioned something a few minutes ago that I wanted to kind of circle back on, which was the amazing music of the Kingdom Hearts series.
Yes. I mean, apart from the obvious Disney music.
Right, from the very obvious Disney music. The original Kingdom Hearts, as I said, came out in 2002.
Yeah.
And it was helmed. The original theme song was, as Tim alluded to at the very beginning of this, "Simple and Clean" by Hikaru Utada. She's a Japanese singer, and I say she, and I apologize. She's actually come out as non-binary, so I will try to refer to them as they or something along those lines throughout this. If I slip up, I do apologize. Utada, I'm a huge fan, so please understand. I mean no disrespect for him. I'm just, this is 20 years that I've been used to referring to you this way. So anyway,
understandable.
Simple and Clean was just such a powerful song. Yes. It's so amazing with the opening visuals and everything else, and it was just so beautiful to listen to.
It immediately drew you in.
Yeah. And Utada has such a beautiful voice as well that it was just so nice to listen to. And in point of fact, really, where I'm leading with this is I think that performance was probably one of my first introductions to J-pop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I'd heard like some anime themes,
Yeah, I'm
from
pretty
like
sure
Toonami and
I
stuff like that.
burned you a couple CDs back in the day.
Right, but at the same time though, like when we were watching anime on Toonami and stuff like that back here in the States, it was always usually Americanized themes. Like the American theme of Dragon Ball Z was not
Dragon, rock the
Rock the
dragon,
Dragon.
Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z. Well,
Yeah, that was
I
not
will say,
the
the head Chala, the Japanese version of the opening, is so much better than the American one. Like the American one, it's very typical American like heavy metal style,
Mhm.
which didn't, in my opinion, didn't really fit with Dragon Ball Z. But
Yeah,
then again, neither did the Japanese theme without knowing a translation of it.
right.
But no, I get what you're saying. It's a lot of it was like American, like in that case they used a completely different song. A lot of other animes like Sailor Moon comes to mind, where the Japanese theme, from a musical standpoint, not the lyrics, but from a musical standpoint, is the same song. The American version
Right.
just put in lyrics. But so many other animes, you either got the original in Japanese on Toonami, which you had no idea what they were saying, or it was Dragon Ball Z and horribly done like original. Like I don't want to say it was horribly done.
Iman.
I don't want to say the DBZ theme was horrible. It wasn't. The American theme was catchy, but the Japanese theme is better.
Yeah.
So, but no, yeah, no,
Yeah, I would agree.
I get you. I mean, because that was, especially compared to some of the other, like through anime, Japanese music that I listened to. Simple and Clean was so beautiful. It was just like, their voice was just, God, just beautiful. I mean, I'm at a loss of words how to describe it. If you haven't heard this song yet, you can find the original. You can find countless remixes easily
Mhm.
available on the internet. I highly suggest if you have no interest in playing Kingdom Hearts, but you want some amazing Japanese music, go listen to Simple and Clean. It is such a beautiful song.
And Hikaru Utada has done the themes for all of the mainline games as well, and even some of the other games too. So, I mean, it's not just Simple and Clean.
Yeah.
There's Passion, Sanctuary, Chikai, Don't Think Twice, and Face My Fears. Are all some of the main ones. And Face My Fears was a combination with Skrillex, I believe. So there's some techno punk to it as well, and it really sounds really freaking awesome.
I
Um,
wasn't aware that they collaborated with Skrillex. Huh.
mhm.
I'm gonna have to check that
Yeah,
out again.
and actually, it's funny that we mention this because Utada performed at Coachella, I think
Hmm.
last weekend, and actually performed, "Simple and Clean," "Passion," and
Oh, that's
"Face My
awesome.
Fears." So,
Well, I
um,
remember reading about that, and everybody was like, that was so out of left field for Coachella, but
mhm,
everybody loved it."
mhm.
That's awesome. Yeah, that
Yeah,
like
some of the videos that I saw, it seemed like the audio may have been a little weird because it did sound a little funky.
yeah.
But I mean, it was still beautiful. I mean, it was still so amazing to
Oh,
listen to.
absolutely. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, definitely give it a listen to. But then, along the same lines as the music, they also took music from these iconic Disney worlds, no
Yeah,
pun
they did.
intended.
Yeah.
And
Would
put
you
a
say
Final
it was a
Fantasy
whole new world?
maybe.
We're gonna get sued.
Yep. But they took those and kind of put the Final Fantasy spin on them as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like hearing a whole new world or whatever in Aladdin's world. It was it was a nice kind of like theme. There was a theme to it, and
Yep.
it sounded really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and like we've touched a lot on the Disney aspects of Kingdom Hearts. We can't forget about the Square Enix side of it.
Oh sure.
Walking around with Donald and Goofy at your side while talking to Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII was something that I never thought I needed to have in my life, but I'm glad that I did. And like, I mean, like, not even then. Like, Cloud's in it. You see, Tifa, Yuffie. You see the character. You see Squall, and
Aerith.
Aerith. I mean, you see like a lot of different Final Fantasy characters, which was kind of a sad point for the most recent Kingdom Hearts 3, because those characters who, like, I mentioned those ones because those ones were pretty prevalent. they weren't necessarily super important to the story, but they were prevalent to the story.
I mean,
They were nowhere to be found in Kingdom Hearts 3.
right. I mean,
Which was
Squall was
kind of
actually
odd.
pretty. Squall was
Well,
actually
Squall
pretty
was,
prevalent
yeah,
in the very first one because he's kind of like a guide and helping
yeah.
Sora and Donald and Goofy along, for like the first third of the game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first two mainline Kingdom Hearts games, the Sephiroth like secret boss battle was something that like you had to work for, but it was super rewarding when you did it.
Oh yeah.
That was nowhere to be found in Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 was more Disney, like Square Enix still developed it and everything.
Hmm.
But that Square Enix flavor, apart from like the aesthetics of the game and the gameplay style, that visual Square Enix flavor was just absent. And I've heard various things on why that was the case. Um, but it's something that with the recently announced Kingdom Hearts 4, which Lord knows when that'll be out. We waited enough years for 3. I'm hoping that
I've heard possibly 2024.
see I've heard late 2023, early 2024. But again, that's all. Square has so many like big profile projects in the works right now. Um, they announced a bunch of new stuff recently,
Hmm.
but Final Fantasy Remake Part 2 has been noticeably absent from any kind of announcements. A lot of people are hoping that they're going to finish that, have that come out maybe next year, with Kingdom Hearts following the year after that yet. But with the announcement of Kingdom Hearts 4, a lot of people are hoping that you're going to still see some of those classic Square Enix characters, maybe not even specifically Final Fantasy characters. Square Enix has a big library of games they can pull from. But I would like to see some of those characters return.
Yeah.
But no,
Well,
but
with
anyway,
the sorry, kind of continue that line of thought. Some of the like wish list type things as well that I kind of have is Kingdom Hearts 4 at least is starts to appear. It appears like it's starting in more of a metropolitan setting.
yes, which
Um,
apparently that's just one of the worlds. That's not where the whole
right,
game is going to take place, which is interesting.
right. But like you said, they have a huge pantheon of games that they can choose from. I would love to see, I would love to see like 2B and the near characters appear in the games. Those would be really
That
kind of fun,
That'd be
especially.
interesting if like 2B showed up in there, because Disney would go, we're changing that outfit. We're changing that outfit.
Well, yeah, I mean they'll have to get rid of the gratuitous panty shots, but
2B is gonna be a Disney princess.
uh, yeah,
But no,
yeah.
I know I was talking to one of my other buddies online, and they said what would be really neat is have a Final Fantasy 14 world, because 14 is still, as you and I know, still a very active thing. 14 is like they've always done like collabs with other like Final
Mhm.
Fantasy games. Do a Kingdom Hearts 14 or a Final Fantasy 14 world in Kingdom Hearts 4. Have an event in Final Fantasy 14 that is Kingdom Hearts related. Maybe give you like some quests that give you like cosmetics, that give you like a keyblade that you can use as a weapon skin, things like that.
I mean,
That would be amazing.
they have a full tie-in and raid on Near Automata. I've
Yeah,
done the raid. It's
yeah.
really fun.
Well, I mean, heck, they
Um,
have a Monster Hunter one, which I did not too long
yeah.
ago, which that's not even a Square game, that's a Capcom game, and that was really fun, and it didn't feel out of place.
Hmm.
So, like seeing that, and beyond that, though, like, they've obviously had a lot of Disney worlds. What are some that you would like to see, and I'm talking Disney in general, not just their animation, everything Disney owns. What are some worlds that you would like to see in the next one?
Oh man.
I know you've got a lot of options.
Yeah, there's a lot of options there. I mean, obviously, this opens up things. If we're talking the entire Disney pantheon, this opens up a lot of possibilities, including Star Wars and Marvel. So being able, I mean, they already explored some of that in Kingdom Hearts 3 with Baymax and the Big Hero 6 world, because
Yeah.
again, while it's a Disney movie, it's actually a Marvel property originally.
Yep.
It started as a comic book, and we've talked about this before.
Yep.
Vastly different between the movie and the
Yeah.
actual comic book, but
A little bit.
still. So there's a lot of possibility there. It would be interesting to see, an Avengers type world. Obviously, you could have Goofy dressed up as Captain America and Donald
with his shield. That makes perfect
yes,
sense. Yeah,
yeah,
Donald
with the
as Doctor
shield.
Strange.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can see that.
Uh, and you could do microcosms in that, focusing on specific Marvel worlds, like just. I was going to say Spider-Man, but kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
Focusing on things like just Hawkeye or just Guardians of the Galaxy or something along those lines. But then
I was going to say,
go ahead.
Oh, well, so which you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy. That when I was kind of thinking about this, since Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars, and the gummy ships have always been a pretty big part of the Kingdom Hearts series, introduce a new gummy ship combat mechanic. If you're in a Star Wars world, that's really easy to put a gummy ship in combat. Marvel, have there be maybe like a Guardians of the Galaxy planet you go to, or multiple planets, gummy ship combat again. It would be super easy. I mean, granted, it'd be another engine or another thing they'd have to work with in the game, but I think that would be a really exciting thing to introduce is actual. And like, yes, they have had gummy ship combat, but it's felt like an afterthought. Especially with the power of the current gen consoles, and having those properties available to them, there's a lot they could do with that. I mean, flying your gummy ship around, shooting down TIE fighters.
Right.
That sounds fun to me, especially since, if they still keep the customization of your gummy ship. That would be really fun.
Yeah, and then, obviously having things like the ability to do, like various, configurations, or, having like stock ships that you can purchase that look like iconic Star Wars ships.
Yeah.
Have the gummy version of the X-wing or the gummy version of the Millennium Falcon.
I was just gonna say a gummy Millennium Falcon would be pretty cool. Like I remember,
or a gummy version of the Milano.
Oh, there you go.
From Guardians.
Well, I mean, even like some of the customization, I think it was in Kingdom Hearts 3 that you could do on your gummy ship. Like some of the weapon add-ons were just goofy, no pun intended. But yeah, like I think that would be a really fun way to kind of revamp that and make it more something that people want to do and less something that they have to do to progress.
Yeah, and we're talking about potential worlds here. Sorry, words escaping me. And if we're not bounded necessarily just by Disney type worlds as well. I mean, if you look at Square Enix's pantheon of potential games that fall underneath them, I mean, they already have Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy because their studio Crystal Dynamics did the development for those games.
Yep.
For some recent games, but there's also other worlds like Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger.
It'd be really
the world
cool.
Worlds of Dragon Quest. Let's see what else is there.
Would be really neat?
Tomb Raider.
Pick one of Square Enix's classic like 8-bit RPGs, like I don't know, Chrono Trigger, because that's my absolute favorite of all time, and have it be an 8-bit world. Like have Sora, Donald, and Goofy be like little retro sprite characters, and have the world function like that. That doesn't seem like it would be too hard to implement. That would be something that they obscenely unique that they haven't done in the Kingdom Hearts game for just one world. Right. That would be a lot of fun.
What would actually be kind of interesting as well for that type of world is if it's that pixelated sprite type world, and you're running around like normal. But when you encounter enemies, it switches to the pane type view, and it's true turn-based.
Oh, that would be
like
really
turn-based
neat.
Combat.
That would be really neat. Make the world completely unique.
Yeah,
that'd be really.
And
cool.
I was kind of scrolling through some of Square's library, and I had forgotten about Final Fantasy X-2, and then the appearance of the main characters from X-2 in Kingdom Hearts 2. Do you remember that, where they appeared as like fairies?
Yeah, which was
some reason
weird.
Riku, Yuna, and Pain as these fairies.
Well, because all the other Final Fantasy characters appeared, slight redesigns, but appeared as themselves. They appear. Yeah, I had forgotten about that, mostly because I forgot about X-2. Um,
That's fair.
yeah. Well, like Final Fantasy X-2, or as most people call it, the paper doll dress up game. Um, like it had a good story. I'll give it that. But yeah, like I don't want to. I don't want Kingdom Hearts to ditch its classic Disney roots because that's kind of what started it. But I would like to see more, new ideas, new worlds, because there are some worlds that have appeared in I think almost every Kingdom Hearts game. But it would be nice to see kind of a shift maybe to more of some of the Square Enix properties. I mean, and I'm sure it all comes down to the agreement that Square has with Disney of what can't be used, or things like that.
Right.
But I mean, it would be neat to see more, especially since from what we're seeing in Kingdom Hearts 4 thus far, is one of the worlds at least is a very realistic world. It would be neat to see kind of what they do with that, or if maybe that's like the central hub world. Who knows? I mean, we literally all we know at this point is it takes place after Kingdom Hearts 3. Sora has new shoes after all these years, and he's fighting a Heartless, which are the enemies, in a
Right.
realistic looking metropolitan city in this one in a one like 2 minute trailer. That's literally all we know. So this is all just
Right.
wild speculation, which we love doing.
Well, yeah, and then there's obviously the other various enemies that Sora has run into. There's the Heartless, or the key ones. There's the Nobodies. There's Organization 13 and whatever they are, because they don't seem like they can die, yet they
Yeah.
do, yet they don't. I don't.
Again, that's one of the things that like you really have to get a recap and all the side stuff. So
Right. Oh yeah, I forgot they also had the Pirates of the Caribbean world in one of the games as
yeah,
well,
which
was
was a
fun.
lot of fun. Absolutely, that was a lot of
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of possibility there that I would love for them to be able to explore a little bit more. And like you said, especially like originally the Kingdom Hearts games were very much platform exclusives, PlayStation
Yep.
only when it first came out on the PS2. But then, especially recently, Square has been releasing like compilations of all of the games on multiple platforms. I think
Yeah.
they're even on PC now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I know that there is a version of the three main compilations on Switch, which a lot of people were excited about. Like, oh, I can play it on the go. The problem is that one particular version is entirely cloud based, which means you
mhm.
have to have a persistent internet connection, and it streams from Nintendo servers. And I know
I
there's
would prefer if it was Tifa based, but whatever.
I think we all would. Um, but a lot of people have said that even with a strong, steady internet connection, the game's prone to hiccups, it's prone to glitching, it's prone to just disconnecting you for no reason. So, while the Switch version is definitely an option if you don't have any other way to play it, it is not the ideal way to play it. It's not bad, it will do if that's all you have to play it on. But if you have
Right.
other systems, I would highly recommend playing those on something else. No disrespect to
Yeah.
the Switch, but just the infrastructure in the U.S. is, I still think we're rated as one of the worst in the world. So
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a lot less population density here in the U.S. than
oh
in
yeah,
some other countries. So, uh, our infrastructure, we have a lot of room to cover for things like
yeah,
wireless and internet access and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
um, anyway,
But
but yeah, so we obviously have a hold a special place in our hearts for Kingdom Hearts. They
we're
they
not
have
heartless.
unlocked. Right. We may be nobodies, but we're certainly not heartless. Um, it definitely holds that place of nostalgia and uh, for us. And I look forward to where they're going with the series. I'd love to see more of it, and I'm very interested in seeing more of what they have in Kingdom
Oh
Hearts
yeah.
4, and then some of the other properties that they've talked about. Because some of the stuff that we haven't even talked about was some of the mobile games that they had just announced.
Mm-hmm.
One of them seems like it's a mobile Kingdom Hearts MMO. Like you create your own character,
Yeah,
and
which
then
is kind of unique because you've never been able to create a. Well, I think some of the mobile games like you could customize how they look a little bit, but like this
Mhm.
one appears to have more traditional Kingdom Hearts style graphics, but a character creator. So
Right.
that could, and it sounds like much like a lot of the other mobile games, it is going to be a prequel. Which
Yeah.
that's the great thing about prequels. There's always room that you can fit them in. You can always keep going back.
Yeah, exactly. In the case of Star Wars, they have thousands of years they can just shove something in.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, but anyway, I think that'll probably do it for us tonight as far as
I think so.
our conversations on Kingdom Hearts go. It's a beautiful game. It's a
Yes.
beautiful game series. Love it to death, and I'm very much again looking forward to um, what we can do and what Square does with the games here in the future. So Square, keep up the good games. Ready to see more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mhm. So, with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for tonight. As always, we thank you for joining us. We definitely appreciate you, and we'd love to have you with us. As always, you can find us hosted on Anchor.fm, which feeds out to Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and several other podcasting sites. You can also catch us on social media at facebook.com/non-sequitur-nerds, Twitter at non-sequitur-nerd. Catch us on Twitch TV /non-sequitur-nerds occasionally, if and when we ever do bother doing a stream. You can also find the recorded videos of the podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/non-sequitur-nerds. I think that covers everything. I should really put a checklist somewhere so that I can reference it.
You've
But
said that countless times. You're never going to do it.
I'm never going to do it. So let's just, give that up right now. So anyway, yeah, I think that'll do it.
Think so.
So thank you, everyone. And we wish you all good morning, good evening, and a good night. And catch you next time. Alrighty.
There.
Bye, everyone.
You're not doing the normal outro? I'm going to. And I'm Tim. Good night, everybody.